Hello everyone, my name is Chris and welcome back to the channel. This is where we have inspired conversation about all things personal finance, income tax strategy, and business advisory. So today we are going to talk about the wealth building stages 6 through 9. In video 1, we spent time talking about and dealing with financial stability, building financial stability through stages 1 through 4. And then video 2 is about our income potential and how spending time and effort understanding and knowing our why really connects to our income potential. And our income is such an important, the most important tool in the wealth building journey. So now, as we get into the wealth building stages, we're going to talk about things like brokerage accounts and retirement accounts, small business ownership, real estate ownership, home ownership, and other things in this brief video and overview of the wealth building stages. A key point that I want to make sure we understand as we talk about these stages is we want to think concurrently in stages 6, 7, 8, and 9. Even in stage 10, the next video on legacy building, those are all concurrent steps. We don't have to think step 1, finish step 6, finish step 6, go to 7, finish 7, and go to 8. We're thinking concurrently. This is a little different than the financial stability stages where we really wanted to be intentional and focused on stage 1 and then 2 and 3 and 4. And we complete each stage there before we move on to the next. But here we're going to think concurrently. Personal finance is just that personal. And when we talk about the wealth building stages, each one of us is unique on our journey. And we have different buttons and levers to push that make sense to us given the uniqueness of where we're at in our journey. So keep this in mind. I'll mention it throughout this video today. We're thinking concurrently and not consecutively as we work through these stages. All right. Let's have some fun. Let's go over to the whiteboard and let's talk about the wealth building stages. Here we go. All right, I'm excited. Let's talk about stages 6 through 9, the wealth building stages. But first, let me do just a quick overview. A quick overview before I dive into a little bit more detail on each stage. So again, we've built financial stability. We are working towards our full income potential by knowing our why in stage 5. And now we're getting into stage 6 where we're building wealth in financial assets and vehicles or buckets that sound like this: 401k plan, Roth IRA, health savings account, and brokerage account. So that's what stage 6 is. In stage 7, we're building it big in either one or a combination of 4 things. 1, investing in yourself. 2, building our brokerage account, which we'll talk about in the waterfall. 3, investing in real estate. Or 4, a small business, a closely held business. That's build it big. In stage 8, college savings for those of us with kids. We're thinking about college after we've already thought about retirement, and now we can think about college savings or other pre-funding. Other pre-funding might be that wedding in the future for a loved one, or a special trip, or replacing the roof on a house, or maybe even coming back here and investing or putting some pre-funding in place for that small business startup, or real estate, or up here saving money for that first down payment or a down payment on a first, second, third home, whatever it might be. So that's the quick overview. Let's dive in more detail, starting with stage 6, the investment account waterfall. All right, let's go to the back of the whiteboard. So stage 6, the investment account waterfall. All right, let's start with this concept first of a savings rate. Recall that we're living below our means. One of the key things to wealth building, living below our means, so we create excess liquidity that then can go to work for us and build that wealth tree during our journey. So a savings rate. Let's talk about a savings rate. What is a reasonable savings rate? It's usually at this stage, if we talk about Dave Ramsey, again, I mentioned Dave Ramsey, very much an influence and recommend following Dave Ramsey's content. At this point, he's recommending a 15% savings rate. Start putting 15% of your gross income into retirement plans. And I think 15% is great. That is a very good savings rate at this point, but we have to work to at least 25%. In our journey, as we are working stage 6, we want to get to at least 25%. I'm going to even put a plus sign, 25% plus. But I encourage at least a minimum of 10%. So if we can think of a 10% to 25% savings rate, again, 10% might be where we start out early in the journey. We've built financial stability, income is expanding, but maybe life is tight. We're in the messy middle. There are kids, there are expenses. It might be hard to get that savings rate, but with good budgeting and good planning, at least 10%. 10% in most cases is not going to do it in the long run for retirement planning, but at least getting started at 10% minimum, maybe then gradually to 15%, and then hitting our goal of 25% of gross income going into this waterfall. So what is the waterfall? So as we have that excess liquidity rolling into these investment accounts, we want to start first with the 401k. Then we're going to go down here and we're going to label this HSA or health savings account. Then we've got Roth IRA. And then at the bottom of the waterfall, we've got brokerage account. All right, let's go back to the top. It's important to start with your 401k plan. And if you don't have a 401k plan, you maybe have an employer plan. It's a simple IRA or a 403b if you're working for a nonprofit organization. But this is a general concept of what might be a typical investment account waterfall for a lot of people. Again, your waterfall could look unique based on your circumstances. But let's talk through this one. 401k. We want to put at least enough of our savings into the 401k account to get, I'm going to draw here, this is the employer match. This is that anywhere from 50% to maybe 100% of your income matched by your employer. That's free money. That's and a huge return on your investment dollar. Take advantage of that match from your employer. At that point, though, we want a cap. We want to put a cap on that 401k. We've hit the match, we put a lid or a cap on that bucket. So the liquidity is going to bounce off of that and into a health savings account. And then we're going to fill that health savings account up with whatever we're able to until it's maxed out. Now for a family HSA, roughly here in 2024, I'm just using approximate numbers, you can put up to $8,000 annually into an HSA. I love HSA accounts. They're triple tax advantaged. You get a tax deduction going in. You have all of this growth that can grow tax-free as long as you put it to work and invest inside of your health savings account. And then as you pull money out of the HSA account for qualified medical expenses, it's tax-free. You don't have a taxable distribution to you. So nuances of the HSA, that's for another video, but I love HSA accounts. I like to put it up here at the top of the investment account waterfall. After the HSA, we want to go to the Roth. Depending on your age, here in 2024, you get anywhere from $6,500 to $7,500 in annual contributions into a Roth IRA. And so that's the next bucket. I love Roth IRAs. The money going into the Roth IRA is they're called after-tax dollars. There's no deduction for that contribution for dollars going into the IRA. But you get tax-free growth. And the beauty then when you pull out those dollars in retirement after age 59 and a half, completely tax-free. All of that growth over however long that was can come out tax-free in retirement. A beautiful thing. We've got to fund that Roth IRA. And so now, typically, what we'll do is come back once we've got the match, maxed out the HSA, maxed out the Roth, we come back up here and we remove the lid on the 401k bucket. And we begin then to fill up our 401k bucket until we hit the max. Won't go into any detail on what that max is. Easy to look up, but for you, depending on your age, depending on maybe the type of plan, you have got a good chunk of money to put into the 401k plan to max it out. Now, once you've maxed out here, and here, then everything is just going to then spill into this brokerage account. And there's no annual limit to that, putting money into a brokerage account. You can put, to your heart's delight, you can fill that brokerage account up with as much dollars as possible over your lifetime. Now, just real quickly, there can be a decision that's made before you choose to take off that lid on the 401k bucket. As you get the match and fund the HSA and fund the Roth, a conversation can be had as to, when do I expect to retire? Do I want to retire early? Do I want to retire before age 59 and a half? Maybe early 50s, maybe mid 50s, whatever it might be. If that's the case, you may want to think about funding this brokerage account even before you've maxed out the 401k. And there could be other reasons, in fact, quite a few reasons, as to funding a brokerage account before you've maxed out the 401k. So again, your journey is unique. Have a conversation, have good advisors, and talk through what makes sense for your waterfall, investment account waterfall structure and how you fund it. All right, here we're back to our stages, and now we're going to talk about stage 7, build it big. Now we're just going to go quickly through build it big, but this is such an amazing stage. This is where I think of 4 things that happen, and at least one of those all of us should think about. There are 4 things. Let's start with number 1, which is investing in yourself, investing in skill sets and know-how, and building your circle of influence. Maybe there's specific education, things that really cater to your why and helping you make your why come to life every day, and making you a better employee, a better business owner, a better boss, whatever it might be. Taking leadership classes, executive coaching, those types of reading books. Such an amazing thing, and what you can learn and glean from just being diligent and intentional about reading. Invest in yourself. Stage 7 doesn't have to be about dollars being invested. Yes, certainly there could be paying for a coach, or if there is a college education, certainly, or even just a course on leadership, whatever it might be, that has some dollar investment, but may not. And so this is about being intentional, spending the time and effort to invest time and dollars in yourself. This is the one element of Build It Big that I think everyone has the opportunity to really make happen and make huge impact in their financial journey. Number 2 is the brokerage account, which we talked about in the investment account waterfall, that bucket at the bottom of the investment account waterfall. After we've maxed out the 401k, the Roth, and the HSA, we've maxed out those accounts that limit us in how much we can put money into those accounts that have a special tax flavor to them. At that point, we're maxed out. Then every investment dollar, as our income is growing, our income is expanding, and as we're increasing to that 25% savings rate, we're able to max out those accounts, but then have excess that we now just fund the brokerage account. We just start dumping dollars into that investment or brokerage account. Again, we're not limited to how much we can put in, and we start funding that investment brokerage account. Number 3, and Build It Big. A lot of people get led to, we've seen this so many times with our clients, led to start a small business. Being intentional about how you make impact to customers in your communities in the marketplace. Having a great product, having a great service. Knowing how to grow that business through growing through people, through inventory, know-how, expanding locations, product lines, whatever it may be. Being intentional about the business in terms of accounting and finance, and having a team of professionals and a team around you as you build that business. So critical, and could lead to a liquidity event in the future where that business is sold to another business owner that likes your business, like what you've done with it, likes the power and the profitability that was built in that business. Build It Big and a small business ownership are a key thing. Now, small business ownership is not for everyone. So this is where certainly you don't have to have a small business. I'm not saying you have to own a small business to be successful in building wealth. That is not what I'm saying. But small business ownership is a dynamic vehicle if you feel led to do it, if your why leads you to wanting to start your own business, to let your product or service or idea get out there into the world, you should go for it. Definitely go for it. make it happen, and build it big. And then the fourth thing is real estate. Real estate, such a dynamic asset, a hard asset that has a lot of tax benefits to it, has a lot of potential for growth, a lot of potential for cash flow to come in and kind of compound in our wealth building journey. So residential real estate, commercial real estate, we're talking about investment real estate here, not your house. We'll get to house here in stage 9. So invest in yourself, invest in that after-tax brokerage account after you've maxed out retirement accounts, start a small business, invest in real estate. Build it big, such a wonderful stage. All right, let's go on now to stage 8, college savings and other prefunding. Here in stage 8, I put college savings first because it's such an important thing, yet of course, the obvious, those who have kids, I have kids, 13-year-old and 11-year-old daughters, and so we're thinking about college savings. We have thought about that for a while now. We've set up what I think are the best vehicles for saving for college, which are 529 plans. For another video, we can go into those details. 529 plans, not the only vehicle you need to use or can use for saving for college, but saving for college is an important thing. However, it's not as important as getting started back here in your investment account waterfall and saving for retirement and increasing and thinking about and being intentional about that savings rate. Put that mask on your, just like on before the flight on an airplane, they tell us put your mask on first before you slip your child's mask onto their face. You've got to make sure you're taken care of. You have thought about yourself first, and you're able to then take care of kids. Same thing goes here. Think about your investment account waterfall in terms of your own personal retirement before we talk about college savings. That's an important, I would say, priority when it comes to these stages. Now, outside of college savings, we have other future expenses or things that we may want to do. Maybe even back here in stage 7, it's maybe start a small business or invest in commercial real estate. Well, saving up for a down payment or saving up to just pay cash for those things is something that can be thought of in stage 8 in pre-funding or planning ahead, almost staging what those expenses we want to execute on in the future. Also in stage 9, we're talking about home ownership there, our personal residence. Saving up a down payment for buying a home would be something that we think about in stage 8. These are savings, is putting dollars into work that are beyond our emergency fund. It's beyond the emergency fund. It's not part of the emergency fund. This is in addition to. And how that gets invested is a topic that's very unique to the goal at hand and how long term it is. And so I don't want to get into those details, but typically you're putting liquidity aside and having it there for that future expense. Other future things could be that roof repair on the house. It could be the vehicle that needs replaced in 3 years. It could be your daughter's wedding that you know is coming up in a year or 2 years or whatever it might be. So those types of things we plan for above and beyond our emergency expenses so we are prepared and ready to go. That's stage 8. All right, let's now talk about stage 9. Stage 9 I have labeled here mortgage, but it's our home mortgage. So I'm going to maybe rephrase that to say home and mortgage. So you may ask, why, Chris, do you have this at stage 9? Well, this is a good place first to kind of step back a little bit and say, when we're thinking about stage 6, 7, 8, and 9, and I mentioned this in the intro, we want to think concurrent. Here we were thinking consecutive. We're knocking out each of the financial stability stages consecutively. We're not going on to the next one. We're not putting any additional dollars into the next stage until we've got all the dollars and we've completed the stage that we're in. And so we've hit them consecutively. Now that we've done that and we're increasing our income potential by connecting and knowing our why, as we get down into here, and I've even drew this way vertically, to say these stages, including the legacy stage, are concurrent. So Stage 6, 7, 8, and 9 do have a priority to them, and I've even mentioned one of them just a minute ago regarding college savings versus retirement. I do think there is a general emphasis on the word general priority to 6, 7, 8, 9, and even 10. However, they're concurrent. So based on your own unique circumstances, you could be entering one stage before the other. Let's go back to now stage 9 mortgage. With that in mind, that we're thinking concurrently, you might be saying, Chris, are you saying you wait till stage 9 in the journey to buy your house? And I'm not saying that. Again, concurrently might mean after we've built financial stability and our income is increasing and we're getting more powerful and our income shovel is growing, we may enter stage 9 in that we're ready to buy a home. I think I'd like to be in stage 8 first and build up a good down payment by saving and getting to a 20% of that home purchase before we sign on that mortgage dotted line. But we could enter stage 9 when it makes sense for us, when our family circumstances and where we put down roots kind of leads to us saying, yes, it's time to buy a home. Certainly, the cost of leasing or renting versus the cost of buying a home comes into play. But again, we're thinking concurrently. Now, a couple things, get back to the priority. That's why I have investment account waterfall as a priority level of 6. I would love to see us hit that 10% after financial stability, income potential. Our income potential is expanding and we're achieving more of our income potential. I'd love to see at least that 10% savings rate filling up the investment account waterfall before home ownership. Even at least number 1 in Build It Big, which was invest in yourself. Are you really investing in yourself and being intentional about the skill sets that you need to develop in your job, in your small business, that leads to connecting with your why and expanding your income? I think all of those things are important. And of course, hopefully a given that we have financial stability in place before we buy our first home. Let's talk about that first home, or any home for that matter. Very important rule of thumb to keep in mind is 25% of your gross income. 25% of gross income should be the upper level. That should be the upper level of what you are of your gross income that you spend every year annually on housing costs. Now that could also be leasing. So if you're renting, this applies to you as well. So no more than 25% of your gross income to housing costs. Now when it comes to home ownership, where that 25% is the mortgage payment, it's taxes, it's insurance. We want to think through utilities and cleaning and maybe repairs, depending on how old the house is that you're buying, the repairs, expected repairs on the home. You want to think about things like the decorating and, trust me, we've all been there. I've been through, I don't know how many homes now. And we tend to buy bigger homes as we go through life, and we tend to fill those homes up with things and decorations and just stuff. Where everybody gets surprised. It's always it's very unique to have somebody say, "Yeah, I purchased the home and I was surprised on how little it cost me compared to what I thought it was going into it." So home ownership is expensive. Understand what your costs are going to be going in. 25% of your gross income should be the max. If you're starting to exceed that, then likely you're buying too much home and you want to be careful, and maybe it's time to wait before that home purchase. Okay, lastly, when we talk about stage 9, as we enter stage 9, that's when we buy that first home. We sign on the mortgage dotted line, and that stage ends when we pay off the mortgage. How soon should we pay off that mortgage? That's a unique question that really depends on a conversation about your peace of mind around debt, your financial behaviors. I know Dave Ramsey is a big fan of paying off that mortgage early, and I love that. Trust me, I do love that. but I think you can be strategic. And a lot of us have mortgages that were entered into in historically low mortgage rates. And so if you're one that can really see the value in, well, I can continue to carry my 3% mortgage, and instead of paying it off early, I could take those dollars and possibly, put them to work here in stage 6 or even in stage 7. And really build wealth at a faster clip. That's a conversation worth having, but again, there's peace of mind of being debt-free. So I like to look at stage 9 in terms of paying off the mortgage and how can we be strategic based on the terms of the mortgage, based on the house that you're in, and based on you, the uniqueness of you. So there is stage 6, 7, 8, and 9. I want to share one more diagram with you that I think is helpful to kind of think about these stages 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. And so let's go to the back of the whiteboard again, and I'm going to share that with you. All right, so we've talked about stages 6, 7, 8, and 9 in this video. Prior video, we talked about stage 5 and your income building potential, or your income potential, and how the fulfillment cycle and knowing your why impacts your income potential. So I want to take that kind of stage 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, and maybe couch that and recast that in a little bit different way. Stages are these time periods. I remember step or a process, something we go through. It could be various in duration, may even repeat a stage. Very unique to us. We go through stages, and there's action, there's investment. There are things we are doing both with our money and with our time to make things happen in these wealth building stages. But what are we trying to build? I guess this is a diagram that I'd like to show that really started with a client a long time ago. A client told me, Chris, I think of wealth, and this was a very successful client, small business owner, built a sizable investment portfolio as well as a successful business, was able to sell that business off, also invested and currently invested in a significant and sizable portfolio of commercial real estate. So very successful, high net worth individual, high net worth client, told me, Chris, I think of wealth building and kind of my personal net worth. I don't remember exactly how he couched it, but I think of it as a 3-legged stool. And he had 3 things to describe the 3 legs of his stool. He says, one is the liquid financial assets. That's the one leg of the stool. The second leg is my small business, my business that I own and have built over a lot of years. And 3 is real estate. Financial assets, small business, and real estate were the 3 legs of his financial stool. I liked it. That always stuck with me. I've kind of rethought of that a bit, though, and I'm going to put up here on the board a diagram, a beautiful diagram here of a 3-legged stool. And I've thought of it a little bit differently that I think can apply to all of us and maybe captures what we're trying to do and what we're trying to build over our wealth journey. So in our 3-legged stool, I think as compared to the client that I mentioned previously, I think a little bit differently. I'm going to label these legs financial, similar to the client I mentioned. And this leg here we're going to call cash flow. I'm going to abbreviate that and say cash flow. So we've got financial, cash flow, and I'm going to label this one over here just you. This leg is you. So I'll explain this here in a bit as we move left to right. But let's start with the financial leg of the stool. So this represents the liquid assets, liquid investments that we invest in throughout our journey. So I'm going to write liquid over here. I'm going to put value. The value, these are easy to value assets. Let's just put a smiley face. Easy to value assets. There's a market. We know at any point in time what things are worth. And then lastly, cash flow is low. There's cash flow. There could be dividends and interest, but cash flow is low comparative to what we're going to look at in the cash flow leg. In the financial leg of the stool, I have 3 sections: no tax, deferred tax, and after tax. 3 important buckets or components of this leg of our stool that represent kind of the tax character of the vehicles or buckets that we put these assets into. If you remember the investment account waterfall, we had a 401k account. Well, that would be a tax deferred bucket. Remember, we had an HSA and a Roth IRA. That would be the no tax bucket. And you recall having a brokerage account at the bottom of the waterfall. Also a possible dynamic wealth building tool in stage 7 and building it big. Well, that's this leg, part of the leg of the financial stool. So let's list what these things are. Certainly stocks, bonds, mutual funds, exchange traded funds or ETFs. We could have what are called REITs or real estate investment trusts, highly liquid but invest in real estate. We have our just good old cash, cash in our checking account, cash in our checking account or savings account. We could have CDs, we could have currencies, could have foreign currencies, things like that. And of course, we could have crypto. And this is just a short list, many other vehicles that we could put, investment vehicles that we could put in this leg of the stool. But let's go to the cash flow leg. The cash flow leg, things that are not very liquid. Not liquid, the value, let's put maybe a little somewhat of a frowny face there. Hard to value. They're valuable. These are assets and things that can have value and can appreciate in value, but it's not easy to value. It's not readily determinable. There's not always a ready market for it. But cash flow is higher. Cash flow higher compared to these things. So you may already be thinking, okay, well, some things that are in the cash flow leg of the stool. However, let me throw one at you that might be a little bit of a curveball. I'm going to put it at the top here. It's the JOB. It's your job. And you say, Chris, that's not something you buy and sell. No, listen, we're not listing our financial stool isn't just things that we buy and sell or invest in. Obviously, there are. We're going to cover that, and that's part of our financial stool. But a job is the thing where your skill sets and your know-how and your circle of influence and the things that connect to your why, you're putting that in action every day through your job, whether that's a small business you own or whether you are employed and at your job, whatever it is you do. Every 2 weeks, there's cash flow coming. Every 2 weeks or two times a month, whatever it might be, that bonus, compensation, salary comes out and through your job and putting into action the things that you've learned and and the skill sets that you've accumulated. So at the top, cash flow is your job. Now, you say, well, that's not an asset. Yeah, you are the asset. When it's your job, that's you. But you've got to get your asset out of bed and go to work. And so, yeah, you're not the asset. And over time, you may think, well, are there things I can do that create cash flow that don't involve me being the asset? Well, of course, real estate is a big one. So real estate, commercial real estate, residential real estate, and investing in investment real estate is certainly a cash flow producing and very, very dynamic asset that a lot of people use to build wealth. Don't have to have real estate in here. That might not be something that inspires you or you're led to invest in. But real estate can be, and I love real estate, it can be a very valuable piece of your financial stool. A closely held business. We talked about stage 7, real estate stage 7, build it big. A closely held business. Again, not everyone is led to start their own small business, but a closely held business is an asset. When you're the owner, you own the business. You are on title to that company, and you have the control and the say and are providing the influence and leadership to grow that business. That's something you can own and can be extremely valuable and a component of your financial stool. And as we go through more of these, there certainly could be private equity ventures are not liquid, hard to value, could have an increase in cash flow. Maybe even private lending could be something that interests you and you do is part of this leg of the stool. And And we could go down a few other things, but these are the biggies: job, real estate, closely held business, private equity, private lending. I might just write maybe any other alternative assets out there, which are unique. There's a laundry list of them. Always want to be careful and get good advice, but your leg of the stool, this is the cash flow leg of the stool. Liquid, financial assets, not so liquid, but maybe a lot of times hard assets. Your job obviously being one that's not a hard asset, but is producing significant cash flow, but you are the asset making it happen every day. That's that leg of the stool. So let's finish this off with you. This leg of the stool is just simply you. Maybe this might sound a little quirky or weird, but bear with me for a moment. Again, in stage 7, we talked about, at least one element of stage 7 that everybody should embrace is investing in yourself, growing your skill sets, your abilities, both technical and non-technical abilities, to make you a better you and a more knowledgeable, more impactful you. And so you here is skill sets. If I can draw today, skills, know-how, your circle of influence, those building relationships, connections with people that can help you and help you grow and help advance your career, those types of things. So skills, know-how, circle of influence. Those are all things that you're investing in yourself, that knowledge, and you're putting to work over here in your job, likely, or maybe in your closely held business. But gathering those skills are important too. You can't start putting them to action until you've got it. And once you've got it, you've got to put it into action. So these things kind of work in tandem on these two legs of the stool. So those are you. Now I like to put some hard assets over here. I'll put lifestyle assets. So this of course is your home. Maybe it's a second home. If later in the wealth building process you've been blessed and are able to invest in a second home or a condo on the beach, whatever that may be, things like vehicles, things just like other personal assets, maybe even artwork. Financial assets that are liquid and we can get to easily and have a readily determinable value. But then I think of other things that produce consistent and increased cash flow above and beyond what this can do. And cash flow that is sizable cash flow that we can live on and help plow back into our wealth building journey. And then you are those intangible things, a lot of it intangible things, skills, know-how, circle of influence, building our reputation, building our leadership skills, all of those things, very critical in our financial stool, as well as the lifestyle assets that we can accumulate and will accumulate throughout our journey. There's the three-legged financial stool. Hopefully that helps you. All right, as we close this video today, remember that wealth building can be easy. Don't make it too hard. Wealth building and your wealth journey, success is all about 80% behaviors and 20% about learning technical knowledge and terminology and that sort of thing. So you can do this. It is within you. It is within everybody to do the right things, apply the right behaviors, and build wealth in an impactful and dynamic way. I enjoyed sharing this with you today, and before we say goodbye, always remember this: financial prosperity is not the pursuit, but can be a result of pursuing an abundant and prosperous life. Now go make impact, stay safe, bye for now.
This presentation is brought to you by DWC Wealth Advisors. Information can be found at dwcwealthadvisors.com.